The massive Imperial command ship floated silently in the darkness of space, its golden hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside, Commander James Walker kept his face carefully blank as he watched the Empire's leaders discuss Earth's fate on the giant holographic screen. After 15 years of working as a deep-cover agent within the Galactic Empire, he had learned to hide his emotions well. "These humans are primitive," said High Commander Reed, his blue skin glowing under the ship's lights. "They haven't even colonized their own solar system properly. Adding them to the Empire will be simple." Walker's fingers tightened slightly on his datapad, but he showed no other reaction. The Empire had no idea that he was human, surgically altered to look like one of their own kind. They didn't know that Earth had placed agents like him throughout the Empire years ago, preparing for this very day. "Their technology level is at least 500 years behind ours," another commander added. "They still use chemical rockets and primitive digital systems. The absorption process should be peaceful." Walker knew better. The Empire's idea of peaceful absorption meant destroying any military that resisted and forcing the population to accept Imperial rule. They had done it to 1,000 other species across the galaxy. Each time, the pattern was the same: overwhelming force, quick surrender, and another world added to the Empire's collection. But they didn't understand humans. "Commander Walker," High Commander Reed turned to him. "You've studied their communication networks. How developed is their military?" "Very basic, sir," Walker lied smoothly. "They still fight mainly on the ground with projectile weapons. Their most advanced vehicles are primitive aircraft and seafaring vessels." This was the crucial moment. The Empire's arrogance had kept them from looking too closely at Earth, relying instead on their agents' reports. Walker and the other hidden human agents had spent years feeding them carefully crafted misinformation. "Excellent," Reed smiled. "Prepare the absorption fleet. We'll begin the operation in 30 days. "Yes, sir." Walker bowed slightly and left the command room. As soon as he was alone in his quarters, he activated the quantum communicator hidden in his tooth. The device was so small that it had escaped the Empire's scans, based on technology they thought impossible for humans to possess. His message was brief, encoded in a burst of data that would look like background radiation to Imperial sensors. "Golden Shield Protocol activated. Invasion in 30 days. Empire PLIVs DC-21. Earth must prepare." Thousands of light years away, deep under the Rocky Mountains, Earth's Defense Command received the message. General Robert Miller read it and immediately pressed the red button on his desk. Alarms began blaring throughout every military base on Earth. "And so it begins," he muttered, reaching for the secure phone to call the world president. Back on the Imperial ship, Walker calmly began deleting files from the Empire's database. They would soon discover his betrayal, but by then it would be too late. The Empire thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would quickly surrender when faced with superior technology. They didn't know that Earth had been preparing for this war for decades. They didn't know about the hidden fleet of advanced ships, the reverse-engineered alien technology, or the thousands of weapons designed specifically to fight the Empire. They didn't know that humans had studied every detail of Imperial warfare through agents like Walker. Most importantly, they didn't know that humans had one thing no other species in the Empire possessed: the experience of fighting countless wars against themselves. Humans didn't follow the Empire's rules of warfare. They didn't fight with honor or predictability. They fought to win, using every dirty trick, every unexpected strategy, every possible advantage. As Walker finished erasing his tracks, a small smile crossed his face. The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, but they had never faced humans before. They thought this would be another easy victory for their records. They were about to learn a very harsh lesson about humanity. The first shots in this war hadn't been fired yet, but the Empire had already made its first mistake. They had underestimated humans. They wouldn't live long enough to make many more. The World Defense Center buzzed with activity. Hundreds of military officers from different countries worked at their stations, preparing Earth for the coming war. Large screens covered the walls, showing military bases worldwide activating their hidden defenses. General Robert Miller stood at the center of it all, watching as humanity's secret weapons emerged from their hiding places. In Antarctica, massive hangar doors opened in the ice, revealing squadrons of ships that the Empire didn't know existed. Under the Pacific Ocean, submarine bases activated their cloaking systems. In orbit, satellites that appeared to be space junk transformed into battle stations. "Sir," a young officer approached with a tablet. "All nations have confirmed. Protocol Dark Forest is now active." Miller nodded. For 20 years, Earth had prepared for this moment. While the Empire thought humans were fighting among themselves, they had actually been training and building in secret. Every war game, every military exercise, had been practiced for this day. "Show me the Empire's approach," Miller ordered. The main screen changed to show the Imperial fleet gathering near Mars. 500 massive warships, each one capable of destroying the city, formed perfect battle lines. Their formation was flawless, exactly as written in the Empire's military manual. The same manual that Commander Walker had secretly sent to Earth years ago. "They're so predictable," Miller muttered. "Computer, run battle plan Alpha through simulation." The computer displayed a simulation showing Earth's defense plan. While the Empire expected to face primitive weapons, they would instead meet tricks and tactics they had never seen before. In another part of the facility, Dr. Anna Wright worked with her team of engineers. Around them, mechanics transformed regular passenger planes into dangerous weapons. They weren't trying to match the Empire's technology. They were making weapons the Empire wouldn't expect. "The nanite clouds are ready," she reported over the radio. "When the Empire's ships enter the atmosphere, they're in for a surprise." The tiny machines looked like normal pollution from space, but they would eat through Imperial hull metal like acid. Meanwhile, in orbit, Earth's space stations prepared their own surprises. Workers loaded special missiles that looked weak on Imperial scanners, but carried powerful electromagnetic pulses. The Empire's ships had never needed protection against such primitive weapons. No species had ever thought to use them in space. All mining ships report in, called the Space Traffic Controller. Hundreds of simple mining vessels acknowledge. The Empire wouldn't look twice at these primitive ships until they rammed into Imperial vessels at full speed, their hulls packed with explosives. Back in the command center, Miller received reports from around the world. Soldiers hid in underground bunkers. Tanks and aircraft were camouflaged as civilian vehicles. Fishing boats carried torpedo launchers under their decks. Every piece of Earth technology was a trap waiting to be sprung. "Sir," another officer called out. "Message from Commander Walker. The Empire has completed their pre-invasion scan of Earth. They only detected our visible military bases." Miller smiled. The Empire's overconfidence was their weakness. They relied too much on their advanced technology, never thinking that a primitive species could fool their scanners. "They expect us to either surrender or fight them head-on," Miller said to his staff. "They don't understand human warfare. We don't fight fair. We don't follow rules. We use everything we have." The room fell quiet as Miller walked to the main screen. The Imperial fleet grew larger as it approached Earth's orbit. Their golden ships shone brightly, showing no fear of detection. Why should they hide? They thought they were invincible. "The Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds," Miller addressed his officers. "But they've grown soft. They've forgotten what real war is like. They fight like it's a game, with rules and honor." He pointed to the approaching fleet. "But we remember. Humans remember that war is ugly. War is tricks and traps. War is hitting the enemy where they least expect it. And we're about to teach the Empire what real war looks like." Around the world, humanity waited in silence. Their weapons were ready. Their traps were set. The Empire thought they were coming to conquer another primitive world. Instead, they were flying into the biggest trap in galactic history. The real question wasn't whether Earth would survive. The real question was whether the Empire would survive its first war with humans. The Imperial fleet entered Earth's solar system with complete confidence. Their golden ships moved in perfect formation, following the same battle plan they had used to conquer 1,000 worlds. Admiral Thomas Gray, another hidden human agent, watched from the bridge of his ship as the Empire prepared its standard shock and awe display. "Launch the warning lights," ordered High Commander Reed. "Show these primitives our power." Bright energy beams shot from the Imperial ships, lighting up Earth's sky with dazzling colors. This display had always worked before. Primitive species would see the Empire's power and surrender immediately. But Earth's response was very different. "Sir," an Imperial officer called out, "the humans are launching something. Thousands of small objects." Reed laughed. "They're primitive missiles. Our shields can handle." He never finished his sentence. The primitive missiles suddenly split apart in space, releasing clouds of tiny machines. The nanites swarmed over the Imperial ship shields, eating through them like hungry insects through paper. "Impossible," Reed shouted as alarms blared across the fleet. Their technology level couldn't. Another surprise hit them. The space junk floating around Earth transformed into battle stations, firing electromagnetic pulses that shut down dozens of Imperial ships. Their advanced technology, unprotected against such primitive weapons, failed completely. "Sir," another officer screamed. "Mining ships approaching." The Empire ignored the small vessels at first, a fatal mistake. The mining ships, loaded with explosives, slammed into the disabled Imperial ships. Massive explosions lit up space like new stars. In the World Defense Center on Earth, General Miller watched the battle unfold. "Launch Phase 2, he ordered calmly. Earth's hidden fleet rose from the Antarctic ice, but these ships didn't attack the Empire directly. Instead, they targeted the space between the Imperial vessels, releasing special weapons that the Empire had never seen before, space mines that looked like normal debris until ships got too close. "The humans are not following any known battle patterns," reported an Imperial tactical officer, panic in his voice. "We can't predict their moves." Admiral Gray, watching everything, secretly smiled. The Empire's powerful computers, programmed to predict enemy tactics, couldn't understand human warfare. Humans didn't follow patterns. They didn't fight according to rules. Every move they made was designed to confuse and surprise. "The primitives are using their own ships as weapons," someone shouted as another mining vessel exploded against an Imperial cruiser. "This defies all military logic." The Empire's perfectly ordered formation broke apart as ships tried to dodge the unexpected attacks. Their advanced weapons were useless against enemies they couldn't predict. Their battle computers crashed, overwhelmed by tactics they weren't programmed to understand. "Launch the fighter ships," Reed commanded desperately. Thousands of small Imperial fighters poured out of the larger ships. Earth was ready for this too. The pollution in the upper atmosphere turned out to be more nanites. As the fighters entered the atmosphere, their engines clogged and failed. They fell from the sky like metal rain. "Sir," Admiral Gray reported, keeping his voice neutral, "we've lost 30% of the fleet. We should retreat and reconsider our approach." Reed stared at the battle displays in shock. His perfect fleet was in chaos. Ships crashed into each other trying to avoid the space mines. Fighters fell helplessly to Earth. The humans kept launching new weapons, each one stranger than the last. "This is impossible," Reed whispered. "They're primitives. They should have surrendered." Instead of surrendering, humans had turned space itself into a weapon. They fought with tricks instead of power, with clever traps instead of advanced technology. The Empire had expected an easy victory. Instead, they faced their first major defeat in 10,000 years. "Full retreat," Reed finally ordered. The surviving Imperial ships turned away from Earth, their perfect formation forgotten as they fled. On Earth, Miller watched them run. The Empire just learned something important, he told his officers. They learned that humans don't fight to look powerful. We fight to win. In orbit, Admiral Gray sent a secret message to Earth. Phase 1 successful. The Empire will return with a larger fleet. But now, they fear what they don't understand. And they don't understand humans at all. The first battle was over. The Empire had lost more ships in this single fight than in the last 100 years of conquests. And this was just the beginning. The Imperial High Council chamber had never seen such anger. 100 alien commanders watched the battle recordings from Earth, their faces showing mixtures of rage and disbelief. 300 ships lost to primitives. The Emperor himself spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. This has never happened in our history. High Commander Reed stood before them, still shaken from his defeat. My Emperor, the humans, they don't fight like normal species. They don't follow any rules of warfare. Then we will crush them with overwhelming force, the Emperor decided. Prepare the main fleet. All 10,000 ships. No species has ever survived against our full might. In his corner of the chamber, Admiral Gray secretly activated his hidden transmitter. Earth needed to know what was coming. On Earth, preparation reached new levels. General Miller gathered his commanders in the underground base beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Empire is sending everything they have, he announced. 10,000 ships. But they still don't understand what makes humans different. He pressed a button, showing a map of the solar system. They expect us to defend Earth, so that's exactly what we won't do. Around the solar system, human forces put their new plan into action. Instead of gathering to protect Earth, they scattered. Small groups of ships hid behind asteroids. Others buried themselves under the ice of Europa. Some even hid inside comets, using their heat shields to survive. Humans invented guerrilla warfare, Miller explained to his officers. We learned long ago that you don't need to be stronger than your enemy. You just need to make them waste their strength. 2 weeks later, the Imperial main fleet arrived. 10,000 golden ships filled the space around Mars, their weapons ready to destroy everything in their path. Find their fleet and destroy it, the Emperor commanded. But there was no fleet to find. Instead, the Empire found only ghost signals and empty space. Every time they sent ships to investigate a human signal, they found nothing. Their mighty fleet spread out, searching everywhere. That's when the humans struck. Small attack groups hit the scattered Imperial ships from all directions. They appeared from nowhere, caused massive damage, and disappeared before the Empire could respond. The humans never attacked where the Empire was strong. They only hit isolated ships and small groups. This is not how war should be fought. An Imperial commander shouted as another group of his ships reported heavy damage. They should face us in open battle. But humans had learned over centuries of warfare that you don't fight battles you can't win. Instead, they fought the way ancient hunters had fought larger prey, with patience, cunning, and perfectly placed strikes. The Empire's mighty fleet became its weakness. They needed huge supply lines to support 10,000 ships. These supply lines became the humans' favorite targets. Sir, an Imperial officer reported, we've lost contact with another supply convoy. The humans are using our own captured ships to trick our transporters. The Empire had never faced an enemy that used captured ships against them. They had never faced an enemy that ignored their main force to attack their supplies. They had never faced an enemy that refused to fight according to their rules. Most importantly, they had never faced an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Another ship group destroyed. Sir, reports kept coming in. They hit us with weapons we've never seen, then disappeared into an asteroid field. The Empire's usual tactics failed completely. Their advanced targeting systems couldn't lock onto ships hiding inside comets. Their battle computers couldn't predict attacks that made no logical sense. Their mighty weapons were useless against enemies they couldn't find. We lost 5 supply convoys today. Admiral Gray reported to the Emperor. hiding his satisfaction. Our fleet can't maintain position without supplies. The Empire had expected to crush Earth with their massive fleet. Instead, their fleet had become a huge target, spread too thin trying to chase an enemy that refused to be caught. In his command center, Miller watched the Empire's mighty fleet falling into confusion. Humans learned warfare by fighting ourselves for thousands of years, he told his officers. We learned that the strongest army can lose to clever tactics. The Empire is about to learn this lesson too. As another group of Imperial ships sent distress signals, Miller smiled. The Empire had sent 10,000 ships to destroy humanity. They were about to discover that they hadn't sent nearly enough. The abandoned Imperial warship drifted in space, its golden hull scarred from battle. Inside, Dr. Anna Wright led a team of human engineers through the empty corridors. Every captured ship taught them more about Imperial technology. Look at this, she said, opening a control panel. Their weapons are advanced, but the basic principles are the same as ours. They just never thought to use them differently. In laboratories across Earth, humans did what they did best. They learned, adapted, and improved. Within weeks, they weren't just using Imperial technology. They were making it better. They'd done what? The Emperor's voice shook with disbelief as he read the latest reports. These primitives are improving our 1,000-year-old technology. Admiral Gray watched from his position in the Imperial Council. The Empire couldn't understand how humans were learning so fast. They didn't know that humans had spent their entire history taking others' ideas and making them better. Their attacks are changing. High Commander Reed reported nervously. They're using our own weapons against us, but in ways we never imagined. On a screen behind him, images showed the latest human attacks. Imperial energy cannons, modified to work as mining tools, cut through asteroid fields to create deadly shrapnel storms. Shield technology, reversed and amplified, created invisible walls in space that Imperial ships crashed into. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Miller reviewed the latest victories. "How are the new hybrid ships performing?" he asked. "Better than expected, sir," an officer replied. The Empire's sensors can't understand what they're seeing. Their computers expect either primitive human technology or advanced Imperial tech. Our combinations of both confuse their targeting systems completely. This was humanity's greatest strength. While the Empire stuck to their perfect, unchanging designs, humans constantly experimented and adapted. They combined Imperial technology with human creativity, creating weapons that the Empire's computers couldn't predict or understand. "Sir," an Imperial officer burst into the Emperor's chamber. "The humans. They've found a way to hack our communication systems. They're broadcasting footage of our defeats to every world in the Empire." The Emperor's face darkened. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire's reputation for invincibility was breaking. Other species were watching humans defeat the mighty Imperial fleet using clever tactics and stolen technology. "How?" the Emperor demanded. "How can they learn our technology so quickly?" But humans had always been good at learning from others. From the first time one tribe saw another tribe's better spears, humans had copied and improved others' inventions. Now they did the same thing with Imperial technology. In orbit around Jupiter, a human fleet demonstrated this perfectly. Their ships, built from captured Imperial parts combined with human innovations, moved in ways that Imperial ships couldn't copy. They turned their engines into weapons, their shields into traps, and even used Imperial communication beams as cutting lasers. The Empire built their technology to be perfect, Dr. Wright explained to her team as they modified another captured ship. But humans build things to be useful. We don't care about perfection. We care about winning. This difference showed in every battle. Imperial ships followed their programming perfectly, never deviating from their design purposes. Human ships changed tactics constantly, using every tool in unexpected ways. "They're not just copying our technology," Admiral Gray heard another commander complain. "They're changing it, combining it with primitive tools in ways that make no sense. But to humans, it made perfect sense. A simple electromagnetic pulse combined with Imperial shields created a weapon that could shut down entire battle groups. Primitive nuclear weapons enhanced with Imperial power systems became planet-cracking bombs. The Empire hasn't invented anything new in centuries, Miller told his officers. They think their technology is perfect. That's their weakness. Humans never think anything is perfect. We always try to make things better. As if to prove his point, another report came in. Human scientists had found a way to turn Imperial ships' own power systems against them. The mighty Empire, with all its advanced technology, was losing to humans who kept breaking all the rules of warfare and technology. In his private chamber, the Emperor watched recordings of the latest battles. He saw Imperial ships defeated by weapons that his best scientists couldn't understand. He saw human creativity overwhelming Imperial perfection. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire faced an enemy that didn't just fight back. They learned, adapted, and grew stronger with each battle. And the Empire was running out of ways to stop them. The Imperial palace shook as protesters filled the streets outside. Thousands of beings from different species gathered, demanding answers about the war with Earth. Above them, the news screens showed another Imperial fleet retreating from a human attack. Inside the palace, the Emperor faced an angry council. Half of his commanders wanted to surrender to Earth. The other half wanted to use planet-destroying weapons. Neither group agreed on anything except one fact: the Empire was losing. "Our casualties are beyond counting," one commander reported. "We've lost more ships in 6 months fighting humans than in 1,000 years of other wars." But worse news was coming. Admiral Gray, still hidden in his role as an Imperial officer, watched as another commander stood up with shaking hands. "The Centauri systems have revolted," the commander announced. "They're using human tactics against our forces. 3 other sectors are showing signs of rebellion." This was the Empire's worst nightmare. Other species were learning from humans. The slave worlds, watching Earth fight successfully against the Empire, were starting to copy human warfare methods. In his private command room, the Emperor watched recordings of the latest disasters. On one screen, a slave species used captured mining ships as weapons, just like humans had done. On another screen, rebels copied human guerrilla tactics, hitting Imperial supply lines and disappearing. How did this happen? The Emperor demanded. How did one primitive species change everything? The answer was simple, though the Empire couldn't see it. Humans hadn't just fought the Empire. They had shown the galaxy that the mighty Empire could be defeated. On Earth, General Miller received reports about the spreading rebellion. Humans didn't just invent new ways to fight, he told his officers. We showed others that creativity beats blind obedience. That's something the Empire can't stop. The Empire's problems grew worse every day. Their perfect military system, unchanged for thousands of years, couldn't adapt to these new threats. Their computers couldn't predict enemies who copied human unpredictability. Their officers, trained to follow strict rules, couldn't fight against forces that broke all the rules. Another sector has fallen to rebels, a commander reported. They're using a mix of human tactics and local knowledge. Our forces can't counter their attacks. Admiral Gray secretly sent this information to Earth. The Empire is breaking apart. Their own power is becoming their weakness. They have too many worlds to control and not enough flexibility to fight rebels who think like humans. The Empire tried to hide their losses, but they couldn't stop the truth. Videos of Imperial defeats spread across the galaxy. Every slave species saw humans winning against Imperial forces. They saw small ships defeating massive warships. They saw clever tactics beating advanced technology. In the Imperial Academy, young officers secretly studied human warfare. They saw how humans turned weaknesses into strengths, how they used simple tools in clever ways, how they never gave up even against superior forces. The humans have infected our entire empire with their chaos, An old commander complained to the council. Even our own soldiers are questioning our methods. He was right. The Empire's perfect order was breaking down. Junior officers started making their own decisions instead of following protocol. Imperial ships began copying human tactics. The Empire's greatest strength, its unchanging perfection, had become its greatest weakness. Surrender to the humans, suggested one council member. Before we lose everything. Fight until we destroy them all, argued another. Neither choice will work. Admiral Gray finally spoke up. The humans have already won. Not by destroying us, but by showing everyone our weaknesses. We can't unfight these battles. We can't unshow these tactics. We can't make others unlearn what humans have taught them. The Emperor listened in silence. His mighty empire, ruler of 1,000 worlds, was being defeated not just by humans, but by the ideas humans had spread. Every rebel attack used human tactics. Every slave uprising copied Earth's strategy. In the streets below, the protests grew louder. The perfect order of the Empire was falling apart, and it had all started with one simple mistake. They had threatened Earth, thinking humans were just another primitive species to conquer. Instead, humans had become the teachers of the galaxy, showing everyone how to fight against impossible odds. And the Empire could do nothing to stop it. The great Imperial Council chamber fell silent as the Emperor stood. For the first time in the Empire's history, all 10,000 council members gathered to make one decision: what to do about humans. Show them, the Emperor commanded. Show everyone the full human combat records. Admiral Gray, his cover still intact after all this time, stepped forward to activate the massive display screens. Now was the moment to reveal the truth that would change the galaxy forever. The screens lit up with scenes from the war. Humans turning Imperial technology against itself. Small Earth ships defeating massive Imperial fleets. Clever traps and unexpected tactics that no other species had ever imagined. Each video showed humans winning not through superior strength, but through creativity and determination. In 1 year of war, Gray announced, humans have defeated more Imperial forces than all other species combined in 10,000 years. They did not do this with superior technology or numbers. They did this by changing the very nature of warfare. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers as more footage played. Humans using mining ships as weapons. Earth forces hiding inside comets to ambush Imperial fleets. Captured Imperial technology modified in ways that the Empire's best scientists couldn't understand. We lost 40% of our total fleet, a military commander reported. But more importantly, we lost our reputation for invincibility. Every slave species now knows the Empire can be defeated. They all want to learn from humans. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center on Earth, General Miller watched the Imperial broadcast. Their spies had managed to tap into the Empire's communication network, giving them a front-row seat to this historic moment. They finally understand, Miller said to his officers. They're not just fighting our weapons, they're fighting human nature itself. Back in the Imperial chamber, the Emperor made his decision. We cannot defeat humans, he announced. Not because they are stronger, but because they are impossible to predict. Every time we adapt to their tactics, they create new ones. They do not fight like any species we have ever encountered. The chamber's screens changed to show maps of the Empire. Dozens of systems glowed red, indicating regions where slave species had revolted using human tactics. The Empire's perfect order was falling apart, replaced by chaos they couldn't control. Therefore, the Emperor continued, I issue the first species warning in Imperial history. Let it be sent to every world, every ship, every colony in the galaxy. Admiral Gray activated his hidden transmitter one final time, ensuring Earth would have a direct record of this moment. The Emperor's voice boomed through the chamber as he spoke the warning. To all species of the galaxy, do not engage in warfare with humans. They do not follow the rules of combat. They do not fight with honor or predictability. They adapt, they improvise, and they never stop learning. Every defeat makes them stronger. Every victory teaches them new ways to win. On Earth, celebrations began as the message spread. Humans hadn't just defeated the Empire. They had made the Empire admit that humans were too dangerous to fight. But there is more, the Emperor added. The humans have changed warfare forever. Their methods spread like a virus of chaos through our perfect order. They have taught our slaves to think differently, to fight differently. The humans' greatest weapon was not their technology or their tactics. It was their ideas. Commander Walker, his mission finally complete after years of undercover work, smiled as he sent his final message to Earth. The Empire now fears not just human weapons, but human thinking itself. In the streets of 1,000 worlds, members of slave species celebrated. The empire that had ruled them for 10,000 years had been forced to retreat by a single planet of clever primitives. The empire's warning spread across the galaxy. If you value your civilization, do not engage humans in warfare. They will not just defeat you. They will change how you think. They will teach others to defeat you. They will turn your own power against you. General Miller stood in his command center, looking at the final battle reports. We didn't just win a war, he told his officers. We taught the galaxy that no empire is invincible, that creativity beats blind power, that humans don't just survive. We change everything we touch. And across the stars, a new era began. The Empire's perfect order was breaking down, replaced by something new. A galaxy that had learned to think like humans. The war was over. Humanity had won. But their influence was just beginning.